I apologize.
Is that Snoop?
It is. it's the theme from Weed Wars.
What is Weed Wars?
I guess it was a show a couple years back. Oh, I don't know. What does Snoop Dogg know about weed?
I don't know. Not as much as I know about cars.
James Stevenson from Precision Auto Repair. What's going on, man?
Just trying to stay warm. Ready for the snow tomorrow? Tonight?
Yeah, I'm all set. When I ran out in a panic and got bread, eggs, and milk, and
You got it all?
got some bottled water, I ordered like 25 generators just to be safe. Look at me. You laugh, but you should go and get some supplies because you might be locked into your house for up to like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Did you get your banana milk?
I did not get the banana milk.
Well, now you're screwed.
That's tough. do you have some of that at your house at all times?
Always.
Do you like the regular banana milk or the chocolate banana milk better?
I don't know. I switch. I think the regular banana milk is where it's at. I think the chocolate one is just a little too sweet for me, but it depends. Like if I'm having it with cereal, then I want the chocolate banana milk. But if it's just regular, if I'm just drinking it straight up, then I want just regular banana milk.
I thought about the
Serve
chocolate
bananas.
the chocolate banana milk with like Rice Krispies would be amazing.
Haven't tried it.
And now have you tried putting ice cream into a blender with the banana milk and a couple ice cubes and blending that up?
No. Now I can't think straight for the rest of the day.
What are we doing? Okay, the mics are on.
We could just leave and just
Okay,
go
we're
make milkshakes.
we'll be back after this from snow. We're not gonna. Okay, so let's. It's Boys Under the Hood. Let's field some questions here. We want people to participate.
This isn't a food show?
No, it's not.
All right.
Banana milk presented by. I'm gonna call these guys and see if they can sponsor the show. I wonder if they would. I mean, I don't even want money if they would just like to trade us some banana milk. What do you think about that one?
Paying a crate of it?
Ah,
All right.
I want to talk to them. I'm going to give them a call after the show today. All right, Boys Under the Hood, we're asking you to become part of the conversation here. We're talking cars. James Stevenson from Precision Auto Repair in West Springfield. Welcome again. Good to have you back. Lazer993.com to submit your questions. You can also submit your questions at the Precision Auto Repair Facebook page. Let's dive right into it. And let's start with a guy. He called a little bit earlier today. Says he does not have a phone and no way to really contact us. So he called here. He can't text, obviously, but he was asking if it's important, if the octane in gasoline is important. Is it important that you use a higher or lower octane? Because he has a mechanic that told him you should every once in a while fill your tank with high octane. Is it important? What does that do to an engine, James?
Well, the high octane is important if you have a car that requires high octane. Some engines are something that's called high compression. High compression just means there's a lot of pressure inside the engine. So as the what's called the pistons, they come up, it builds up a lot of pressure. So lower grade fuels like 87, 89, so on and so forth are they're more susceptible to something that's called pre-ignition. So the fuel combusts under pressure before it should. So it creates sort of like a knocking in the engine.
That makes sense.
And it can cause the check engine light to come on. It can cause all sorts of different weird stuff to happen. So if your car requires 93 or 91 or above or something, make sure that you use it. Other than that, you're fine to use the 87. A lot of other cars now, they're coming what's called flex fuel capable. We don't have a lot of that fuel around here. I think there might be a station in Northampton. There's a couple. There's actually a website, like an app that you can buy where you can try to look that stuff up. But in terms of just what octane you should use, it really, like if your car requires the higher octane, use it. If it requires the lower, if it doesn't specify, you're okay with 87. I personally use 87 in my truck.
So what does the flex fuel do? What's different about that?
It's just a different type of fuel. It's like a corn based fuel. It's a lot cheaper. So some vehicles are meant to run on it. If your vehicle's not meant to run on it, then you can't use it. But some vehicles will come with like a yellow gas cap now, and it'll say flex fuel capable or something like that on there.
I think I've seen that made. I've seen people making fuel, like recycling old, even just regular corn oil and vegetable oil. So something along those lines.
I had a pretty good joke in my head, but I didn't feel that it was radio appropriate there. So I just kind of stalled for a second. But no, I don't know. I have no idea how you make it. I don't know a ton about it. I've gone to a couple classes on it, but I know a couple guys that are really big into that stuff, and they swear by it. They put these, they make these kits that you can, kind of outfit your car so that it can burn this fuel. this corn fuel or whatever. A few years ago, a lot of guys that had diesels, they were running fry grease, so they would go to restaurants and they would say, hey, look, Pat, at your restaurant, are you guys done with all your fry grease? If it's all, whatever it's used up, and they'll put it in their car and they would burn it. There would be a special system. So there's always something. I think that the flex fuel stuff, it's more than a gimmick. It's pretty cool, but it hasn't really taken off in our area yet. So
I appreciate you not telling the off-color joke too, because
we'll wait till break.
We'll
wait till break for that one.
Being employed has a lot to do with making money. So, Lisa from East Long Meadow, she's driving a 2002 Honda Civic. She says, my mechanic said I need my timing belt replaced. I already agreed to do it, but really just want to know what it is and what it does. He said, I need it and I trust him, but I just feel silly asking him what it does. What's a timing belt do?
So you have the easiest way to explain this, you have an upper end of your engine and you have a lower end of your engine. We can get into explaining what all the bits and pieces are, but just you've got an upper end and you've got a lower end. And the lower end of the engine is basically what's trying to turn all the time when an engine's running. And something needs to tie that upper end of the engine in with the lower end of the engine so that they both turn in perfect sequence all the time, okay? And some cars have what's called a timing chain, some have belts. The belts are serviceable, which means that they have a shelf life, right? Somewhere between, just depending on your car, 80 to like 110,000 miles. And it's just a rubber belt, just like your normal belts that maybe you've seen if you've ever popped your hood, but this one's a little bit more internal. There's some covers that cover the thing up. And again, it has a shelf life, so it just goes bad after a period of time. You're going to want to replace it. If for some reason that the belt were to break or stretch too far, if it stretches, it can cause the check engine light to come on, or it can do something called, it can bend what's called these valves. The valves are basically what it turns in the upper end to, that's basically what its job is, to open the valves in the upper end. Again, there's a lot more to it. It actually turns cams and all that other good stuff, but I'm not going to explain all that now.
All right.
So anyway, if the belt stretches too much, it can bend what's called valves. If the belt breaks, it can be catastrophic. It can destroy the motor, or sometimes it can bend valves. We saw one actually yesterday where someone went about 150,000 miles with their timing belt. It was in an Audi A4. He was driving the car. He says, the car just shut off. I don't know what happened. He brought it in, and it was plain as day that the belt snapped and it bent a bunch of valves. So now you need to kind of disassemble the engine and then repair the cylinder head if it's repairable, because when the valves bend, it can do a lot of damage to the cylinder heads. When they hit, what causes them to bend is the piston. Sometimes the pistons will break or shatter. It's a real big problem. So it's a very important part of your engine, being that timing belt, and in some cases timing chains, but timing chains don't really have, they don't have a shelf life. Sometimes they go bad and you replace them as necessary, but they don't have like a maintenance interval. But yeah, if what he's telling you is, what he's telling you is correct. Yeah, based on your mileage, based on your time, you're going to need to replace that belt. It's a great idea. It sounds like he's being proactive. It doesn't sound like you have any other concerns or anything. You've got a good mechanic there, but just the short answer is that it makes the upper end of the engine turn with the lower engine in perfect sequence, and you're going to do it about every 90 to 100,000 miles to make sure that vehicle just stays up to snuff for you.
So it's important to pay attention to it. I mean, it's part of the preventive maintenance over time. Everybody should get it changed out at some point.
Well, a lot of cars don't have them. Some cars do, some cars don't. If you have it, then yeah, you need to get it changed out periodically. Your mechanic should be checking that stuff, or your whatever shop that you're bringing that to. So again, that all goes back to basic oil changes. When you go in for an oil change, most people are just programmed to say, yeah, you know what, I just need my oil changed. And you think that somebody just drains the oil and they'll change the filter. But the reality is that there's a lot going on behind the scenes there. So just from simple little things, right? So you check the tire pressure, right? So that's not something you go in and you ask for. You say, I want the oil change, right? So you check the tire pressure. That's a very simple thing, right? The techs do it. You don't mention it, but it gets done. You top off all the fluids. We check all the lights. You lube all the door latches and hinges, right? And that's all the basic stuff. But then you're checking over for maintenance. All right, well, is Pat's truck up to date, right? Pat never flushes his brake fluid,
I still haven't. You got to keep bringing that up. I feel like you're cursing me now.
Digging it in.
All right.
No, just little things like that, and once you have a relationship with a shop what happens is they have a record of all that stuff. All right, well, Pat's real bad about changing his fluids or coming in on time.
There it is again.
So I'm looking at you. I got to torture you a little bit.
Sorry.
So the so when you do that, you go through the whole vehicle and you kind of tailor a plan to meet the customer's needs based on their driving habits and their driving history and so on. Like a vehicle that we have, say that we have a few fleets of trucks that we service that are owned by landscaping companies. Well, those fall into something called severe service. So they're going to do big services a lot more regularly than you would, because you drive your truck to and from work. You may go to Home Depot and put some wood in the back or something like that. But these landscapers, they're really driving and working these trucks. So
right.
A lot of the fluids need to get changed a lot more frequently and so on. So it's case by case. It's not really one size fits all. The manufacturer's scheduled maintenance is a great table to go by. But if your car, say, needs transmission service at 30,000 miles, but you did it at 25,000 somewhere else, and then you start coming to us, are we now going to recommend it again at 30? No, we're not going to. So you're going to take a look at it and say, okay, you know what, Pat already just did this. Let's make a note of it, and then you kind of tailor the schedule. So some people will be, a little bit out of sequence, but that is basically a tune-up. That's a modern tune-up, right? You follow that manufacturer's, scheduled maintenance schedule, and part of that is doing a timing belt. Part of it is doing spark plugs periodically. Some manufacturers recommend to replace different types of sensors, like oxygen sensors at certain intervals and so on. But, it's just, all that is just like you come in and you ask for an oil change, and then we explain all that stuff to you. And that's all the customer really needs to know, is they need to be comfortable where they're at with, the skill level of the shop that they're at, and then the shop will advise them accordingly. It's not like you just blindly go in and say, yeah, I need an oil change, expect to pay $30, and we give you a bill for $2,000. Like, the customer is always informed. Hey, Pat, at this mileage, we need to do this.
Right.
Hey, Pat, at that mileage, we need to do that, and so on. But all that stuff gets checked. Just just normal services.
You're listening to Boys Under the Hood. Pat Kelly joined by James Stevenson of Precision Auto Repair in West Springfield. Taking your questions, maintenance, repair, whatever it is, log on to our website, lazer993.com, or you can also submit the questions on the Precision Auto Repair's Facebook page, where someone at 3:21 in the morning called us stupid.
He spelled it wrong.
He
spelled it wrong.
There's not a lot to miss in that word. Right, stupid. It's all, it's...
The only thing that he was missing in that text was like a little beer mug emoji.
Look, I'm on Facebook drunk a lot. Ask the people who have unfriended me over the past couple of months.
You should need a breathalyzer to Facebook after a certain hour.
That's a fantastic idea.
It's a good invention.
I get yelled at all the time. Kim's always like, "Oh, what are you causing trouble on Facebook?" I'm like, "No, I'm not causing any trouble." What are you talking about? She listens to me like typing angrily. She knows, like in the next room. What are you doing?
Punching the keys, just smashing it.
Pretty much. All right. Tim from Hamden says he saw your apprentice program advertised. He says, my son really enjoys working on cars, and I think he might be a great fit. Can you tell me a little bit more about how your apprentice program works?
Sure. So, every shop needs good technicians. And, every shop needs good technicians. And in this country, there's a huge shortfall, right? In the coming years, I was reading some survey that in the next coming years, there's going to be an 80,000 automotive technician shortage throughout the country, right? So think about that. There's about 253 million cars on the road, and the average lifespan of a car, not the average lifespan, but the average age of those cars is about 11.4 years old, right? So that's just national averages. That's job security.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work. So that's job security. Everywhere you go, you're stuck in traffic, right? You know what I mean? You're sitting there waiting on this one. Now, all those cars are going to break, and every one of those cars needs maintenance.
And no matter how cars evolve, they're still going to need somebody to fix them.
They still need maintenance.
Whether it goes to electric, whether it goes to whatever it goes to, solar, it doesn't matter. They're still going to need somebody to look after them.
Right. And it's a very exciting time to work on cars because cars are driving themselves. Like, isn't that cool? Right. Don't you want to be part of that? Don't you want to know how that works? And some people don't because they're not mechanically minded, but that's exciting. You get into a car and it drives itself right in front of you. Like, how does that work? What sensors, does it operate off and all that other good stuff? So what happens is, business evolves, right? So we grow a little bit more every year, and every year we try to take on, another valuable member of our staff, right? We try to make the next best member of our staff. And what we tried to do years ago was we would hire technicians. I'd say, Pat, you know what? You've been working on cars for 20 years. You must be a great fit. Come on in. Well, maybe we work too fast for you and you hate it. Maybe we're too. I always got called too particular. Right, guys would be like, you're too anal. They're like, you want it done too perfectly. Like, it's unrealistic. Oh, that's great. Well, you know what?
What's the alternative to that when you're working on someone's car, though, right?
We hired a guy one time, and he was this guy was referred to us by someone else, and I guess he was, such a great technician. But the reality is, he had been at like 8 shops in the past 6 months. So if he was, like, I can understand if you're trying to find a home, but everybody else can't be wrong, right?
Right.
So the guy comes to us, he basically begged me for a job. And it was fine, I was kind of a little reluctant, but I can understand. Maybe he just hadn't found the right job in 8 different jobs over the past 6 months, right? You know what I mean? Because I can understand that, you know what I mean? Maybe he just wasn't comfortable. So we go and I decide to hire the guy. I said, you know what? I feel bad, like he's in a bad situation. He seems to be a really good tech, and we'll bring him on. The guy ends up calling me and he says, "Oh, well, I know somebody that worked for you, and you're too particular, and there's just no way that it would work." He goes, "I have my way of doing things, and you have your way of doing things." I just said, "You know what? That's fine." The reality is that, like, I guess there's a right way and a wrong way or whatever, but there's certain things that we do that help ensure that the job goes out perfectly. And do we still make mistakes? Absolutely, we 100% make mistakes from time to time.
No, getting back to that guy, yeah, buddy, you can be right or you can be employed.
I think he's.
How do you start out at an interview with that?
I don't know.
Look, I've heard things about you. There's no way I could work for you.
Honestly, I saw the guy shoveling snow like a couple weeks back. He's working for like a DPW or something like that. So that's great. I hope that works out for him. I really don't care. I don't care what anybody says about me or anything like that. Your biggest complaint about me is that I'm too anal or I'm too particular. Then thank you. That's
You'll
actually
take
great.
that.
Yeah, that's great advertising. That's fine. I'll take it. Because these people, a customer's going to leave your shop and they're going to go 80 miles an hour on the highway, right? I know speed limit's 65, but everybody's 10 minutes late for everything, and they're texting and everything else, right? Now they need to hammer on their brakes, right? They need to stop really, really quickly. Do you want the guy that's very particular to have done your brakes, or do you want the guy that is just maybe not quite as particular? He skipped the steps because he wanted to get through it faster.
Well, his day's coming to an end. He's got to get the brakes on and get out, man.
He's got to get the brakes on. Right, exactly. He's got the bad attitude. He's got the cigarette in the mouth while he's working, and right.
James Stevenson doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right. Yeah, that stuff just doesn't fly in our shop. We hired another guy one time, and he was a top producer at his shop. So he said, right, as he apparently was moving to town and came in and interviewed, and we hired him. Right, we needed a guy at the time, and this kid had a ton of experience. Pat, I swear on my children, this kid made it through the first day, barely. The second day, by 3 p.m., this kid was in the bathroom, hysterically crying. He said, "It's too busy, I can't work at this pace." He quit right then and there. Right, so what do you do? Like, do you continue to try to hire from the same pool, right, and continue to look for talent, right, that when you bring them in, you have to retrain them, right? And anybody that owns a business is listening to me right now just like cringing, right? Because a lot of people go through the same thing. Like, I've talked to 4 or 5 other shops that I know that are legitimately thinking about closing because they can't find talent. They can't find good quality, like, hireable, right? Is that even a word? Hireable staff, right? So what we decided to do a couple years back is develop kind of a program, right? Instead of sitting there and complaining like everybody else about, well, I can't, the right employees aren't going to fall into my lap. No, they're not, because the right employees are being taken care of. And they're not just going to leave a job where they're being taken care of and they're just going to jump ship and go somewhere else. It's not rational. You know what I mean? It's just, they won't do it. So what we found is that instead of hiring and then retraining and breaking people of bad habits and all that other stuff, it was just harder to do that. It was easier to get a puppy, so to speak, right? And train the puppy to do what you need him to do, rather than get the dog that's a little bit older,
So
and
they
then
don't
try
have
to retrain
So
them.
there's no predisposition and not predisposed to work a certain
Right, and I'm
way.
not calling people dogs or anything like that. I'm just
No,
making
it's
a
an
very
analogy.
analogy. But what I'm saying is it's just much easier to train from the ground up, because then that way they're used to working at a certain pace. They're used to doing things a certain way. They're used to taking a little bit longer to do a job, and they're not racing against the clock and things like that. But I guess there's kind of I kind of contradict myself there, right? There's two ways to do it, right? You can do it efficiently, which is can be quickly, or you can rush through it. Those are two totally different things.
Right.
We want guys to learn how to do things efficiently and properly, and not rush through it. And the problem is that I think, and one of the things that we discovered in our industry is these people will go to these trade schools. So some will go to high school, and they'll go. I know Chicopee Comp has an excellent program. Greg Gerton runs that. Excellent technician. When he was a technician years ago, Chicopee Comp should be very, very happy and lucky to have him. Excellent tech. Deanna Damzik, he runs Putnam in Springfield. Dan was an excellent tech too. His brother owns a shop in Chicopee. Like, long line of technicians, right? So there's some really, really good trade schools, just in like comprehensive high schools around that can train these people. And then there's some other schools that you can go to that are kind of like instead of college. But the problem with those schools is they're very, very expensive. And when you're starting out, do you have 30 grand to spend on a school to come, and they go in and they learn their fundamentals and everything like that, and that's great, but like they don't really start learning until it's on the job training. You know what I mean? You don't, you can only learn so much from a book and kind of being structured.
I don't mean to interrupt, but the same thing happens with us. We get kids from broadcasting schools that spend a lot of money to learn everything about the business, and they're trained, and then they come here and then they start learning.
Right.
No, we don't charge them. We don't. They're interns. So it's basically a free education.
Right.
And I think now they even get paid.
Yeah.
Back in the day when I was making coffee for the guys on the radio, we weren't getting paid to do it. But that's exactly what happens. They go through this big long education, and then they come to us when they want to learn.
Yeah.
So I love how you do that.
That's what we did. We created we created a situation where we created a full curriculum so that from day one they know what they're going to be doing. Day two, they know what they're going to be doing, and it lays out a timeline. It says, hey, look, at the end of day 30, you need to be able to do this, and you need to pass such and such test. At the end of day 45, and at the end of day 60, and so on. And if they don't, they're held accountable. It's not a school or anything, but this is real world. Like, can you do this job? Are you retaining the information? And so on. And if they're not, then we need to figure out why. Did we not train them properly? Are we moving too fast? Did we not give them the tools, the material, the time, the training, and all that stuff? So it's not anything that we've ever, we're not perfect, you know what I mean? But I feel like our program is pretty good. And they also get to shadow, some master technicians, because we've got some of the best technicians in the area in our shop. We really do. I'm very, very proud of our guys. Are there better techs around? I don't know, maybe. I don't know. But I know that we've got some of the best, and I'm really, really, I can confidently say that. I'm very comfortable saying that. And if I was starting out again, or actually when I started out with an excellent tech. They own a shop in Springfield, my cousin's shop. They own a Tech Auto Service. Dickie and Tony, great. Tony's an excellent tech. He'd bury me. Guy's funnier, better looking, and smarter than I am all day long.
Maybe I'll have him on the radio next
week. Ask him to
to
do the next 6 months, yeah. But no, they're excellent techs, and I was very fortunate when I started out to be able to learn in a shop. So I felt that, when we started to kind of make our plan for the next 10 years, how are we going to do that? Are we going to continue to try to hire people and then retrain them? Or do we want to give people the same opportunity that I got and then that my guys that worked for me got? And I thought it was just a great thing to do. We put a lot of time, a lot of energy into creating the curriculum because there's so much information to cover, But I don't know, I'm really proud of it, and we have a huge response from it. But the only real problem with it is we can only take in 2 people.
Right.
That's it. And you hope that both are, the right hire and they last forever. But we've got a great retention rate with those people. But we have one now, but he's still in high school, so we're going to lose him in September, and he actually is in the Chicopee Comp program. We'll lose him in September because he's going to go off to big boy college and be an adult, and then we'll get him back when he's done with college. But he's an excellent tech, and it's going to be terrible to lose him. But we've had him for a year, and the kid has he's learned a ton. But he learns it by doing it. you know, and you don't quite realize, like, it's not, I guess it's one thing, like, I can't sit in a classroom and just have somebody talk to me and learn that way. And I can't read a book and then just really retain the information. Honestly, I get bored. I have to see it, I have to do it, I have to touch it,
You
feel
gotta
it.
get your hands dirty, man.
Right.
It can't be a concept.
Right, yeah,
You know?
you got to do it. You got to see it. And the other thing, too, you got to make mistakes. You know, you've got to, and I'm not saying, like, leave wheels off customer cars or anything like that, but, you know, any apprentice tech that we get to come in, we'll let them look at simple things. All right, well, let's figure out what's wrong with these brakes, you know? And if they overlook something, that's a mistake. Okay, but they're always with a master tech.
Right.
You know, so hey, did you check this caliper? Oh no, shoot, I forgot it. Great, well, there's your accountability, right? And then they fill out a little checklist, and then we grade them at the end of the week. It's kind of like a little school. It's goofy, but it really works for us. And we make sure that we build a technician to the level that we want and we expect, and our customers over the years have grown to expect. And again, we're not perfect, and our apprentice program probably isn't perfect, but I can tell you that the trade schools and everybody else probably make mistakes too, but this has been a really, really good program for us. It's given us great results over the years that we've been doing it, and as we go on and as we continue to refine this program, we're just building better and better technicians. It's just incredible to see,
And
you
not
know,
only
how quick we develop them.
Not only are you helping you, but you're helping them. Like in the future, you know, 10 years later, if they do move or end up somewhere else, they're leaving with the knowledge that you taught them.
You know, with the shortage of technicians that we have in this country, in this area, and everything in general, what's going to happen in the next few years is that you're going to see the price of auto repair skyrocket. So if you think that it's expensive now, supply and demand, there's going to be less shops, there's going to be less places to get your car fixed because there's less technicians. And that's not just auto repair. You know, that's all trades, plumbers, electricians, and carpenters, and everything else. Like, people, it's not sexy to go into the trades anymore, right? It's not sexy to get your hands dirty because people say, well, you know, he's just a greaseball mechanic, or, you know, he's just a dirty plumber or something like that. But I mean, you can make a really, really good living doing this.
Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, I mean, you can make a really, really good living. You know, I'm not wealthy or anything, but I mean, we live comfortably, and you know what, my techs live comfortably. Like, I know a lot of other shop owners, like these guys, you know, some of these guys, I go to these classes, I'll go in a couple weeks, and I meet with some of the best shop owners in the country, right? And you kind of learn from each other. Hey, how'd this go? How'd that go? And so on and so forth. I mean, these guys are like winning. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's another way to.
And having fun
I don't know.
doing
Yeah,
it.
I mean, yeah, and they just love doing it. You know, and these guys all started out as techs, and they were just really good at what they did. You know, some of these guys are pulling down like a couple $1 million a year, owning repair shops because they started out as a technician. Like, wouldn't that be cool?
Wow.
You know, but I mean, you know, not every stories vary. You know what I mean? You know, people's talent levels and all
Price
that
of
stuff.
participation may vary.
Right, right.
Obviously, store for details.
But there's never been a better opportunity to be a technician now. You know, I don't know how many kids that, say, I grew up with, went to high school with, they went to school and they paid for these gigantic degrees. You know, how much is college now for 4 years? $200,000?
At least, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pay $200,000, you get out. I mean, what's the average income after you get out?
Not
30
too-
grand,
yeah, 30.
35 grand, if you can find a job, right? You come out, you got your master's, you can't quite find a job, and you end up still, you know, filing paperwork somewhere for 12, 13 bucks an hour. Could you imagine that? And then, you know, your student loans must be more than, you know, your student loans are I don't even know, what is a student loan payment? $1,500,
I
$1,600?
would be guessing, but
It's like a mortgage.
yeah, at least I would guess right around a mortgage.
Right, so how do you
4 or
pay
5.
that? Right, so you get out, even if you make 30, 40 grand, how do you service that debt? It's incredible. Technicians, you know, trades, you go in there, you learn on the job, you can make a good amount of money, you have fun doing it, right? A lot of people, they relax working on cars, right? Some guys, they relax building little sheds or whatever they do, you know what I mean? Being a carpenter, being a plumber, like the trades are seriously overlooked. And there is just there's a lot of job security, there's a lot of earning potential, and it's fun. You know, it's really fun. My wife's an accountant. I've never heard her come home and say, yeah, you know what, I had a fun day today counting all of this stuff and creating all these spreadsheets. I mean, she enjoys what she does, but it's not fun. Nobody's hobby is accounting.
Right.
Nobody says, you know what, I want to go home and do my taxes today because this is going to be relaxing. Or
Right.
if they do, then great, that's awesome. But I just don't, like, people, like, cars are hobbies. You know, building stuff, being a plumber, an electrician, all that good stuff. Like, people enjoy, like, just, that's their fun. That's their relaxation. Wouldn't it be awesome if you could do that every single day for your job? Right? Does that work at that point?
So how do people get involved in your apprentice program?
So our apprentice program is it's very simple to apply for it. It's a little bit more lengthy to get actually chosen for it, because again, there's a lot of time, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of training. We're giving you a skill that you're going to have forever. And obviously, the ultimate goal is not just to train you how to work on cars. The ultimate goal is to train you how to work on cars and then keep you forever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So we're investing a lot of time and energy, and the reality is money in you to bring you along. So you just go to our website, precisionautorepair.biz. If you're, a lot of people engage with our Facebook page. There's links to our website on our Facebook page as well, and just look for our employment section, and then it'll walk you through that. So there's a whole write-up on what the apprentice program is, and what you can expect. It's not easy either. A lot of guys will say, oh, well, this will be a cakewalk, and you're just going to walk me through. I guarantee you, every day is not going to be good. Every day is not going to be fun, even though you may enjoy working on cars.
But that's no matter what you do.
It doesn't matter what you do, and
right.
The reality is you're learning so many new things, and there's going to come a point in time where you get frustrated. But what you have to realize is that you're working with another team of people. Like, you're working with a whole team of people that have all been frustrated at that same point as you, and the training is meant to help kind of ease that burden a little bit and kind of help you through it. We laugh it off. You know what I mean? We all, as our team at our shop, we laugh at the good days and we laugh at the bad days, but we all do it together, right? Because we all succeed or fail together, right? So it's the same thing with the apprentices. We had one time, and he was getting frustrated. He was trying to diagnose something. It was a kind of not a complex issue, but for him it was a complex issue, and he was getting very frustrated. And, you got to break it up sometimes just by laughing. Like, dude, what do you? Relax,
Right.
Like, it's okay, and it's just, I don't know. Not a lot of laughter and jokes and everything like that. It's very structured, but it's very simple. You just apply. You can go right to our again, our Facebook page or our website. There's an employment page, and then there'll be a link right in there, and that will allow you to apply. From there, we'll start interviewing candidates within the next week or so, and we'll bring in 2 within the next month, and we'll start training them. But it's not an easy program to get into, again, because of the investment in time and money and energy that we have. So we're very, very selective in who we take. But you don't have to have 3, 4, 5 years to come in and learn in our shop. We prefer 1 year or 2 years, maybe in like a comprehensive school would be great. But if not, we're hiring attitude, aptitude, and ethic. And from there, we'll teach you and train you to do exactly what we need you to do. You'll be an excellent tech.
Do you have time to stick around for a little while longer?
Yeah, I've got a few more minutes today.
Okay, I appreciate that, James. Thanks.
No problem, man.
You're listening to Boys Under the Hood. James Stevenson from Precision Auto Repair in West Springfield. We'll be back after this. Expect mostly cloudy skies today. We're going to see some snow this afternoon developing, and it's going to become heavy as we head into the evening. Expect 4 to 8 inches before it's all done.
That's what she said.
Why? Why? Okay, do you hate it when people come into your shop with a ton of... Oh, boy. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and throw you out of here. If you keep that up. I get yelled at for saying that, too. And I will say, and I'm not 11 anymore. but I will say that's not what she said at any opportunity.
Constantly.
And sometimes I'll even stop. I'll be like, that's what, and then I'll stop myself. It's almost more effective than coming out and saying it.
I guess the funniest times is when you don't actually say it out loud, and you have like a perfect opening, and I'll just say it to myself. And I'm in a professional conversation, I just start laughing, at nothing. Very, very childish.
That's what she Look, and I'll say that around kids who get it. If you're like high school age, I've got no problem saying that in front of you. Or like that's what then it's kind of stopping myself like that. All right. So we have snow coming in, and I've always wanted to know this. And I know when I mention snow, that Darryl Strawberry immediately gets a bloody nose.
Oh boy.
That was just too old of a joke. When Darryl Strawberry, maybe someone more current, Robert Downey Jr. in there.
Oh, boy.
I don't know. Okay, so do you hate it when people come into your shop and there's snow all over their car? Yeah. Like someone comes in, there's 6 inches of snow piled on their car.
If it's like 3 days after the snowstorm, then it can be annoying. But no, I mean you've got to clean that stuff off. It's definitely a challenging time of year. because as the car's in the shop too, then everything is just dripping on you, and it's working on cars during a snowstorm is definitely not a fun as it normally would be.
Nobody likes salty liquid in their eye.
Oh, it's awful. You go to look up at something and it never fails. It gets you right in the eyeball too. You wear glasses, but sometimes it finds its way in there.
That's what she said. It's
Boy.
8:42. Pat Kelly in the morning. This is James Stevenson from Precision. Our final voice under the hood. Let's do one more. Emily from Wilbraham writes in, my boyfriend got me some new wheels for my car this past Christmas. After the wheels were put on, I noticed a vibrating if I go on the highway. Don't say it. He brought it back to his friend that put them on, and they're saying, I probably have a bad axle, but that's like $500. It just doesn't make any sense. Could they have done something wrong to break the axle? What are they trying to put wheels on? broke the axle?
I'm still laughing. So it's probably not it's probably not a problem with your axle.
That's what she said.
That is
All right, I'm stopping it. I'm not doing it again.
All right, so it's probably not a problem with the axle, and it's not uncommon to see when somebody, say, does something to a car, in this case, put wheels on, and then all of a sudden you see an issue. Sometimes, or most cases, it is related. In some cases, it's not. I don't know what kind of wheels you got, but what we see frequently is somebody will buy, say, like a set of aftermarket wheels. They're almost like a universal wheel. Right, so they'll fit on the car, but they would fit on like 5 different types of cars. They'll fit on this Honda, they'll fit on this Toyota, they'll fit on this Mercedes. They're interchangeable. Well, the problem is they don't sit perfect, on the car. So even though you bolt them in, they need these little spacers, these little adapters. And what it does, it helps center the wheel, and it helps just keep that wheel in a perfectly true position. The other thing that could have happened too is maybe somebody didn't balance the tires properly. And every once in a while you can get a bad rim, right? Or even a bad tire, even though they're new. I can't take you seriously.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I wanted to back up. So if a tire's if it's not weighted properly so that it's balanced, does that vibrating then could that affect the axle? The vibrating with that
Over time. Vibration can lead to bigger problems, but it sounds like she's only had the wheels on there for a couple of weeks. She probably doesn't do a crazy amount of driving, right? But it sounds like, if you never noticed the issue before, and then now you're noticing it. I don't know if your boyfriend's friend, because that's who looks like may have put those on for you, if he's an actual technician or if he was just kind of doing a favor for somebody. But if not, you're going to want to get that into an actual shop. Have them just first check the basics. Check the fitment of the wheels. Make sure. I can't even make eye contact with you right now.
I'm sorry. I can't. That's why I'm looking down now. All right.
You gotta sit in the corner like the Blair Witch kid.
No, don't even bring that up. Don't freak me out, man. We're trying to stay on topic.
That is a creepy movie.
Yes, it is.
That is the creepiest movie. But Emily, just have them check the fitment of the wheels. One, have them just ensure that they're the right size, back spacing, all that stuff. Have them check the fitment, make sure that they're on the car, so that there's no like uneven position to where they might wobble side to side, or obviously make sure they're tight too, but or any hop up and down. The next thing is have them check your tires for balance. If all that stuff is okay and everything fits in there perfectly, and the tires are all balanced properly, then you should start looking into other issues. But it doesn't sound like it's not likely that they damaged an axle putting on the wheels. And if you didn't have the issue before, putting on new wheels probably didn't expose an unseen issue. It's probably all to do with those wheels. That's just my opinion. But just have a real shop take a look at that.
Appreciate you dropping by today.
The Giggle Fest. We should change the name of the show.
Join us every Tuesday for the Giggle Fest, right around 8-ish. James, I really do appreciate you coming by, man. It's a huge help. I have people tell me inside the building and also calling and outside the building how much this helps them with their questions. And very cool that you're accessible this way.
Thank you.
And I love the fact that you're detail-oriented. Don't let anybody...
Yeah,
I'm not working for you, man, because you like to do the job perfectly. No.
It is what it is, man.
Yeah. All right. I will. I know you got to get out of here, but I will see you next week for more Boys Under the Hood.
Good luck with the boxing, pal.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Enjoy. See ya.